It's been another injury-riddled week. Lots of moving pieces here. Guys like Joe Mixon, George Kittle, Evan Ingram out today. Maybe some more like Justin Herbert. We'll hopefully find out over the course. Well, probably we'll find in the next hour. Either way, though, we are going to do what we always do here, which is give our final takes for week 3. I'm going to look at the projections and the ownership projections one more time. We're going to run the optimizer and the solver sims one more time. We're going to run stochastic sims one more time. And of course, we're going to hand build it out one more time and see what our sim ROI would be. And of course, I've already got the projections up here, updated 16 hours ago. So probably a couple more updates coming this morning with stochastics data. Of course, you get this data that I have on the screen for yourself at Stochastic. Link in the description down below. 15% off using that promo code SPLASH. Top projected player on the slate right now is Alvin Kamara, a guy that I've been taking in every format possible this week. Battle Royales, I think same thing as I've mentioned on Friday's video as well. Kamara to me looks like he's going to be one of the smash plays of the week overall due to the situation he's in. Facing a Philadelphia defense and on the year giving up a 0.19 EPA per rush, 0.04 EPA per dropback, 0.03 EPA per pass. Of course, all those numbers from Sports Info Solutions. It's a big spot here where New Orleans hasn't been pushed yet. They basically haven't played 2 full halves of football in the game. That's the fact they routed the Cowboys, also routed the Panthers, obviously in week 1, started the train for Bryce Young, not playing very much this year with how good they were in week 1. So to me, Kamara is one of the most obvious plays in the slate. $7,500 salary is pretty reasonable. The workload for him, the red zone work, we're talking about 5 intended red zone touches a game, 3 of which inside the 10-yard line. Hard for me to imagine how he fails. Now, it's possible some other guys, maybe a little bit cheaper, give you the same upside. I think that's definitely something that could happen on the slate. But overall, to me, Kamara at 7,500, definitely a no-brainer cash game play, and to me, one of the core GPP plays for today as well. Shout out to the chat as well. We got some GM Sunday Come Day, Squirt Squad, and GMs from our guy Nolan. Appreciate all you guys tuning in here on this fine Sunday morning, and hope you're having a better weekend than I am watching USC get fucking stomped by Michigan. That was such a disappointing game. Wife was out at a birthday party on the shore, so I got to hang out with Luca. I'm like, Luca, let's watch the game. He just wants to wrestle around during the game. USC's getting fucking competitive enough, but not a fun game. So I'm ready for real football after just watching Michigan just run the ball. They're playing like the Chargers. That's how fucking Michigan played yesterday. Lamar Jackson, number 2, projected overall 23.1, $75 salary for him. Probably harder to get there for a lot of people. Would say if you're doing a 20 max, a 150 max, getting some Lamar stacks with a fairly cheap Mark Andrews, with a more tournament-y Zay Flowers has been getting kind of the PPR scam role lately. He looks like a decent play, but definitely a little more confidence in Alvin Kamara relative to these price tags. Bet Michigan points and money line. Well, fuck you. Ended up being right, but yeah, not a good time. RKO'd my own son. I have more power bombs for Luca than RKOs at this point. Can't grab him by the neck. Got to just slightly put him down so he lands flat. Jalen Hurts, number 3, projected overall 21.6. Again, the push-pull of that New Orleans-Philadelphia game. I think it's viable to go Hurts with Devontae Smith with your New Orleans pieces. It's also, I think, viable to stack up Derek Carr this week at a much cheaper salary. But Jalen Hurts, probably a little bit underplayed at the salary as well. I would say same thing for Lamar, too. Kyler, 6,900, competitive game against Detroit. I think I've had this one earmarked for a little bit less of a shootout than the public seems to. Totals, though, still pretty high for this one. So Kyler Murray, number 4, projected. At number 5, Jordan Mason has come down a little bit in projection, but he and Alvin Kamara are likely to be the backfield for a lot of teams this week. So Mason, Kamara, top projected plays, and Mason a much more obvious value. Let's look real fast, top projected players overall by position. Then we'll look at some of the value metrics. QB top 5, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, Kyler. We talked about them. Dak Prescott, going to probably go a little bit under-owned in stacks with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, a top projected play as well in a game as well. Again, it should be a shootout or a potential to have a shootout in Dallas and Baltimore. Jared Goff, number 5. Again, doesn't run very much. Hard to play him on these slates. You are playing him, probably playing with 2 pass catchers, I would say. But Jared Goff, number 5, projected overall, a little bit ahead of CJ Stroud. Top RB projections. Again, we're just setting the table here a little bit before we get into the lineup building and look at some of the value metrics, ownership projections. Kamara, Jordan Mason, Devon Achane, Zach Charbonnet, Jonathan Taylor in that order, your RB top 5. Kyron not too far behind. Josh Jacobs not too far behind. Really, though, a slate where it feels like the Kamara Mason will be really overrepresented. Achane a little bit less so. Achane, you're taking a little bit of a risk on that one with Skylar Thompson at QB. Still a pretty good matchup on paper. Achane getting a ton of workload. No Raheem Mostert again. That's probably the main part. If Miami's going to be competitive in that game, and I think they're going to hang in it, at least I would say they're likely to hang in it. I guess the best way to put it. Can't say it's a certainty. If they hang in it, it's probably to Achane. So Achane at number 3, that works. Red Rifle Day, Andy Dalton, only 4,800 on DK. Projection-wise, I don't think so, but we could talk about that more in a moment. Let's go to receivers. Top 5 receiver projections right now: CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk. Based on the salaries here, we'd think that Ayuk is to be the chalkiest out of all of them. Highest value metric here, lowest salary, highest projection relative to the salary. So CeeDee Lamb, certainly a viable play. Amon-Ra, viable play. Jefferson, a viable play. Devontae Smith, would think he's a little bit chalkier at the $6,900 price tag. But really, Smith and Ayuk are probably the ones that get played the most out of this group. Because of the fact they're a little bit cheaper, makes it easier to jam in your Kamaras and your Mason. I think there's going to be a lot of builds today with Kamara, Mason, Ayuk, Devontae Smith, and really no critique for going that way. Expect a competitive game in Philly, New Orleans. Expect Brandon Ayuk to soak up a lot of those targets that guys like George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, CMC still out, leave behind. So no issue with those plays at all. But I would think, again, Ayuk and Smith going to come up a lot. We'll see a moment when we run the solver sims. Top projected tight ends. Let's close these out, and then we'll look at the top values overall. Trey McBride, number 1 projected tight end. Number 2, Brock Bowers. Still feel the best about Brock Bowers relative to salary this week. Sam Laporta, number 3. He would be a low-owned leverage play against Amon-Ra, against Jameson Williams to a certain extent, though JMO's not going to be too owned. Mark Andrews, number 4 here. Again, works well if you are playing Lamar. Hard to play Lamar at that price tag, though. Dallas Goedert, number 5. Goddard at number 5 kind of speaks to how the tight end position is that overall, really this year, but especially this week, kind of ugly after the top 2, really. Cheap guy I will highlight real fast. Don't think he's got a good projection on him. Don't think he's got the guaranteed workload. So Stochastic has Eric Saubert projected for the most reps. Jake Tonges has been playing, I think, a little bit more. So Tonges so far in the year, his numbers stood out for me a little bit. Oh, you know what? I've got this backwards. Tonges has played a little bit less. So Saubert, with the projection on him, real fast, I do want to highlight this. He's $2,500 men's salary. Saubert on the year, playing 22.5 snaps per game compared to 1 snap per game for Tonges. 6.5 routes per game for Saubert. So not a lot of work overall. Let me check his snap count for the 2 games. I do want to highlight this because it's important. I think Saubert's actually a viable play. Definitely for cash and maybe for tournaments. So 19 snaps week 1 for Saubert, 26 week 2 for Saubert. Saubert's getting targeted pretty decently. 23% target per route run. Again, not running a ton of routes. 1.5 targets a game, 13.3 air yards per target. He's actually had a deep target in the 2 games. I actually do think that Saubert at 2,500 is a play where if tight end fails this week, a guy like Saubert might give you 8 to 12, if I had to guess. And he would be unowned leverage against Brandon Ayuk, unowned leverage against Jordan Mason to some extent. Saubert, again, not a lock play, but I do want to highlight him because he's min salary. And very rarely on this point of DraftKings are there actually minimum salary guys who are pure minimum salary who have upside. Saubert actually might have a little bit of upside because of the fact that, like, that tight end role does matter for the team overall for the Niners. And really the fact, too, that, like, Saubert's produced and, like, very limited sample size stuff, but he's produced a lot better than I would have thought was possible for a backup tight end who's been playing, in 12 personnel with Kittle, sometimes 13 personnel. So I think Saubert, I would just wanted to highlight here as maybe an important play. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm going to play him a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. It's going to go unowned. Top values overall, and then we'll get into the ownership projections on Stochastic, and then we'll look at ETR's solver. We'll do our simming. We'll do our optimizing, all that. All right, top values, Jordan. All right, so again, they're going to be crammed in every lineup. Jordan Mason, Alvin Kamara. Hard to ignore that 2 of the top projected plays are also 2 of the top values. Just mispriced plays right now based on the usage so far for Mason and Kamara. Geno Smith, a QB value here. Pairing him up with Metcalf could be the most obvious thing. JSN, I think, a little bit more interesting. Lockett, if you want to go with the lowest routes guy who's had some big upside in the past. Lockett's certainly still viable. Deshaun Watson, good matchup against the Giants. The question is how much they actually push him into action when they probably don't have to put up a lot of points, assuming that they get some good defense going, good pressure going on Daniel Jones. Deshaun, to me, feels a little bit trappy, but the matchup is good. The air yards have been there for both Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, so I would say if you're playing Deshaun, don't do naked Deshaun. And Cam Akers, to me, a very obvious RB3, a little bit less projection, a little bit less upside, perhaps, than Jordan Mason and Alvin Kamara, but a $4,700 price tag. To me, that's your 3 RBs in cash. Akers, Kamara, Mason. And honestly, I think 3 tournament RBs, I don't mind those guys at all. Akers is really going to absorb a lot of work that Mixon left behind. As long as that game's competitive, and it should be, I think Akers gets there. So does Akers have enough to outscore Kamara and Mason? I'm not sure about that, but I think he's got enough to outscore Charbonnet. I think he's got enough to outscore everybody else who's a semi-cheap RB. So I'm not somebody that's going to tell you to fade Akers. I really don't believe that. Kamara fade day in tournaments. If you're going to go Kamara fade, I would really go Olave heavy. Like New Orleans is going to have to score points. I don't think that's a defensive showdown no matter what. No one likes naked Deshaun. That's true. Legally, you have to say that. And GM, Spags, and Squirters, let's win some money. Yes, I hope you guys all do that. Spags giving away my tight end play. Hey, Saubert, I think is interesting. But yeah, $2,500 tight end. We'll see what we get. Spags the GOAT. Everyone support, like, and subscribe. Yes, please. If you appreciate content like this, and again, I'm the only show in the industry right now that actually shows you what it's like to build lineups on two of the biggest products, both the Solver and ETR. So please support the show. Hit the like button, subscribe. If you watch after the fact, leave a comment as well. Your engagement go a long way for me because I'm just a sole proprietor here competing against actual companies streaming at this time. And I do my best to show you what real gambling looks like in this space. I do it here every day, pretty much on Splash Play. So please subscribe. All right, ownership here. Let's make sure this is updated as it can be at least. All right, 9 hours ago is the last update. So guys like Justin Herbert get ruled out. You want to be getting the subscription data for yourself on Stochastic to be able to check that out later on. Jordan Mason projected for 50% ownership. Feels about right. I'd say 55 to 60, a little bit more so. Kamara, 37%. Again, not that crazy year. If you are one of those people that sees chalky RBs congregating, just wants to go somewhere else, I think you can do that, certainly. I would say, though, to me, like Mason and Kamara, I love finding reasons to poke holes in guys' situation to go like, I don't want to take this chalk. I'd like to go instead this guy to that guy. And trust me, like I like Cam Akers, as I just mentioned. I don't see there being real pivots to Mason and Kamara. Like there really aren't pay-up options that are good. There really aren't ones that are great deviations at their price points. To me, these guys are too cheap. The roles are too good. The matchups are too good as well. I have a really hard time fading Kamara and Mason at their level of ownership, even though that ownership is as high as we're going to get in most slates overall. Brandon Ayuk, number 3 at 32%. I think it's much easier to fade that. But again, it's just the baseline here of Mason, Kamara, Ayuk. Hard to ignore that as a 3-man base. Charbonnet, number 4. He's the easiest fade for me, but the workload's been good for me. Basically just absorbed, like Mega Man, took in Kenneth Walker's workload as his own. The matchup, a little bit better against Miami because of the fact the offense won't be as good. Wouldn't shock me if he failed, but I think still a player that gets you 15 to 20 for the most part in most situations. So I think Charbonnet, still a good play, but to me, I'd rather have Akers at less ownership. We'll see, actually. I wouldn't shock me if Charbonnet and Akers flatten out a little bit, but right now it does seem like a pretty big discrepancy between Charbonnet and Akers. Charbonnet projected for 26%, Akers at 18. Maybe both come out 20 to 25, I guess. Devontae Smith, number 5 at 21%. Olave, not too far behind. The man in the thumbnail, who I also think is probably as due for positive regression as anybody on today's slate. He's not too far behind Devontae Smith. Low-owned guys. Actually, we could go position by position here. We got okay time right now. Top-owned QBs. Geno projected for 10%. Jalen Hurts at 9%. I don't know that I buy that. I think Jalen comes in closer to 5. Lamar, I think, closer to 5 as well. I don't think people will pay up for the expensive QBs quite as much. It's hard to do that, I think, on the slate. Kyler Murray, numbers 4, 8% ownership for him. And number 5, Deshaun. It wouldn't shock me if one of these guys picks up more ownership than expected. Maybe Derek Carr does at 5,800. Something here feels off, though. I don't know that people are going to flock to Geno as much as the ownership projections think. I don't think people are going to spend up quite as much as the ownership projections think either. I think I guess maybe. Somebody here gets to 10 to 15, though, if I had to guess. If there were going to be somebody that sneaks up in ownership, I would guess it's Carr, which kind of sucks because I like the concept of Carr as a low-owned play. If Carr goes 10 to 15%, it's going to fuck up the slate pretty meaningfully. But something here is off, I think, with the QB ownership is what I'll say. RB ownership, probably have a good idea of that already. Mason, Kamara, Charbonnet, Achane, Akers. So we've talked about that at enough length so far. No issue with any of those guys really up top. Charbonnet, probably the most issue. Ayuk, number 1 at 32%. Devontae Smith, 21%. Olave, 20%. We talked about that. Godwin, number 4 at 12%. Godwin's probably been the most efficient receiver in football over the first few weeks. DK Metcalf, number 5. Again, good usage for him. Nico, a little bit under-owned to me. Good matchup going against Minnesota. Let me just highlight real fast. So Nico going into a spot against a Minnesota defense playing zone 67% of the time, which is a little bit high. Nico's been infinitely better against zone so far this year compared to Diggs, compared to Tank Dell. 28% target per route run, 4.1 yards per route run, and a 1 flat EPA per target, compared to 17% target per route run for Diggs, 22% for Dell. Both guys under 1 yard per route run as well. So basically, to me, I think Nico's a pretty good zone player so far this year. Clearly a big commitment to getting him the ball overall. His overall target per out run, 28% compared to 19% for Diggs, 18% for Tank. So Nico, to me, just one of those plays at 7,300. I would find my way there over an expensive QB. I think, 9 times out of 10. Tank not too far behind either, 11% projected ownership for him, and a little bit for Deontay Johnson at 11% as well. And then tight end to close us out here. I guess we look at defense too. Tight end, Trey McBride, number 1. Jake Ferguson, number 2. Brock Bowers, number 3. Makes sense so far. I'd probably weight Bowers a little bit higher. Ferguson, certainly cheap, though. The matchup against Baltimore, good pass game matchup. And a good tight end matchup as well. 0.8 EPA given up so far to tight ends per target. So should be an efficient day for Ferguson. The workload, he got 6 targets the last game he was in. I don't know, it's a great workload. I'd certainly trust CeeDee Lamb a lot more in any situation, but Ferguson's cheap, I guess. So that's going to be the reason he gets that ownership. Andrews, we talked about. Goddard just doesn't do a whole lot for me. And defenses here. Bucks D projected to be the chalk. Browns, I think, a little more appealing, but the price tag's really high. $2,500 to the Broncos. I really don't think the Broncos get to Baker Mayfield, to be honest. I would go the other side. But I guess you're getting leverage against the Bucks D if you went Broncos D. Whatever. Titans D. Another Malik Willis matchup. Malik Willis are going to protect pretty hardcore. Jordan Love out again this week after there was some hope he might go. It's not going to go. Dolphins, number 5. I think Dolphins would be kind of interesting to go to because of the fact people are just going to assume that Seattle basically boat races them. I don't think that's going to be the case necessarily. Dolphins D scoring a touchdown would be one way to accomplish that. And I'll highlight the Bears too at 2,600. Bears expected to produce a lot more in the pass game against Indianapolis, who's been awful against everybody, giving up a really high EPA number per drop back, really high per pass as well. Indianapolis so far given up one of the highest marks in the league. 0.34 EPA per drop back, 0.4 EPA per pass, 78% completion rate per throw. So a lot of people assuming this is a Caleb Williams get well spot, when it could really just be that the Bears D gets a touchdown against AR to make part of their 21.3 implied total. So I think Bears D at 2,600 to me is a more live pivot to the Broncos, let's say, maybe even the Dolphins. Skylar Stack is my flag plant. Skylar Tyreek stacks off of Geno Chalk. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Skylar's so bad, but I think the play makes game theory sense. It certainly does. All right, let's go to the solver now. Oh, man, I'm sweating in here. All right. Let's put up the solver sticker on the screen. Of course, check the link in the description if you want to use the solver. The big difference between the solver and stochastic sims is there's a little bit more of an optimizer component, a little more of a hand-build component to the solver, which I like. So I think especially when you have enough time on a main slate to kind of get your lineup dialed in more, to get the stacks you want more, to get the players locked in you want more. What you could do is just lock in those top 3 guys and just sim everything off of that. So we're not going to do that here necessarily, but I think for the solver, there's a lot of control you get that you don't get with the stochastic sims. Whereas if you just want like lineups fed to you, I think the stochastic sims are going to do a lot better for you. So that'd be the key description, I would say, key differentiation between the two products for you people out there that are new to the stream. But let's do an unencumbered optimization here to see what comes into lineups the most. So according to ETR, your optimal right now would be Jalen Hurts, Alvin Kamara, Cam Akers, Rashid Shaheed, Tank Dell, Brandon Ayuk, Jake Ferguson, Jordan Mason, and Bucks D. So nothing, I mean, honestly, a few surprising things here. Tank Dell being in here, a little bit of surprise. Shaheed making in a little bit of surprise. But that's ETR's projections for you, which we'll look more at in a moment. In terms of who's coming up in every lineup, you are still getting, just as we did on Friday, 100% Jordan Mason, 100% Brandon Ayuk. Whenever you see in an unencumbered optimization / previously a crunch on Fantasy Cruncher, that guys come in 100% of the time, it's up to you to make a decision then. Do I want to play these guys together everywhere, or do I want to maybe just chop them up, or I'm only playing one guy, one of these 2 guys, Brandon Ayuk and Jordan Mason, in every lineup? That's what I would say to perhaps consider today. I think both guys are in a good spot, but they're going to be really paired together pretty frequently. Are Ayuk and Mason. So one thing you do right away to get yourself away from the field for the most part, you do max 1 of Ayuk and Mason up top. Besides that, Kamara coming up a lot. Nothing too common in game stacks. Yeah, Mason and, I mean, these are coming up everywhere. I don't know why it's saying 64%. But yeah, Ayuk and Mason in every lineup here. All right, so look at ETR's projections real fast. We won't go quite as long as we did with stochastics. The projections right now, Alvin Kamara, top projected guy for ETR. Number 2, Jalen Hurts. Number 3, Lamar. Number 4, Kyler Murray. At number 5, Jordan Mason. So not that far off from where stochastic was. Ownership-wise, ETR has Jordan Mason for only 40%, Kamara for 35%. This feels a little bit light. Ayuk at 35%, and that feels a little more correct. Cam Akers at 29%, Charbonnet pretty much flat with Akers. Again, would favor Akers still, I think, but that projection of ownership being so high here, he's a little more pause. Devontae Smith a little bit lower here, Chris Olave a little bit lower here, according to ETR's ownership. But let's run some lineups here, some regular lineups. Of course, my settings, we're just giving boosts to stacks. We're not forcing them in. We'll naturally get a lot of stacks with that boost on. You can see how I do the settings. Where are we? Right here. Boosting wide receiver and tight end by 25% if played with the QB. Boosting RBs by 10%. And boosting opposing RBs, wide receivers, and tight ends by 10%. Try to get bringbacks in, but not force them in. And let's just do 300. Let's put variance on. All right, this is ETR's real variance. So basically the standard deviation for player scores is what this is going to have as the variance on the optimizer. And if you are new to the solver and optimizers in general, when you put variance on, it just makes it run faster as well. So make sure to always do that when you are running your sims before a slate. Default variance means no variance. ETR variance is a standard deviation. And then solver low, medium, high are just random percentage points. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it better. But basically, it gives you more variability on guys' outcomes within the optimizations themselves. Subscribed to the solver 2 weeks ago, so I prefer to manhandle my builds. I love this product. It's a good one. Look, Stochastic's one's a good product too. Again, Stochastic crushing right now for showdowns especially. But I think really the difference for Stochastic sims versus ETR is if you want to come in and get a batch of 10,000 lineups and have that be something that you go off of, or if you want to come in and go, I want to get unique combos, like if you want to force in Britton Covey, like you could have on that Philadelphia Eagles slate, a little bit easier to do that with the solver than it is to do with Stochastic sims. So there are trade-offs for sure, but I've enjoyed the solver. I think they both work. Spags working so hard, he's sweating, crushing the leg for the man. Yeah, I think it's just humid down here too, but this hat, by the way, not the most breathable. It may shock you to hear an Amazon money hat, a pleather money hat is not the most breathable hat in the world. Sims or optimizer, just going at its own pace. It's a real-time product, guys. See what it does. People like fucking Pollard. Don't play Pollard this week. Like, I really don't. I don't get the Pollard play. Tyjae Spears is in, guys. This has been the case now for multiple days. People keep coming on the streams and saying Tony Pollard, Tony Pollard. Why? Pollard's not doing that well. What are we looking at? The total's not that great. Please don't do the Pollard thing. Akers, Kamara, and Mason are all infinitely better plays. Charbonnet is too. I don't get the Pollard thing. If somebody wants to explain why they're so into Pollard, but this is now like the third or fourth person talking to Pollard here. It's a 20-point total for them. And they're facing a defense with like one of the best run defense in the red zone. I don't get it. Don't agree. Barkley pivot off Kamara. Jennings pivot off of Ayuk. Their tournament plays. Neither excites me very much, but sure. Again, I really don't think this is a spot personally where that's the pivot you're making. But that's how I feel about it. What's got the biggest entries here? All right, so they still don't have all the play action entries in. The one thing with the ETR sims, the solver sims, that I have to give them a doc for, they just don't have the lineups you want for the full tournaments like they should. That's the one pain point. You're simming, like I have to keep simming in the slant, which only has 20,000 entries, which is not really representative of a Millie Maker field. So that's the biggest flaw of the solver. At least with Stochastic, you know you have it competing 10,000 times against 10,000 lineups. Highest sim ROIs right now, though. So Darnold stacked up with Jefferson. So you are still getting fucking Johnny Munt. Johnny Munt just forces his way. Instead of playing Johnny Munt, try a shot at Saubert. Sam Darnold, Kamara, Akers, Jefferson, Tank Dell, Brandon Ayuk, Jordan Mason, Johnny Munt, Bucks D. This one wins or finishes top 1%, 4% of the time. So a really high ROI on that one. Darnold stack is your number one overall according to ETR. Number two, we got CJ Stroud. This one wins or, top 1%, about 3.2% of the time. Stroud triple. Stroud with Kamara, Akers, Nico, Tank, Devontae Smith, Eric Saubert getting in. Okay. Jordan Mason. So if you don't play Ayuk, you're getting Saubert. I like that. And Broncos D here to get leverage on the Bucks D's. I've talked about it enough times on here, but if you are new, One thing I like about the solver that it does with its sims kind of naturally is it'll go against what it has in optimizations, where you're getting a lot of Brandon Ayuk in the optimization, as we saw, getting 100% of them in an unencumbered crunch. You're also getting a lot of Bucks D. So the solver is giving you direct leverage against that by, number one, giving you more correlation on the Houston stack. Number two, you're getting Broncos here instead of Bucks. And then you're getting Solver as leverage against Ayuk. So I do like the way that the solver does build their sims. Again, I'll say that for the 100th time. Carr ons this Kamara, Charbonnet, Nico build, Rashid Shaheed, Brandon Ayuk, Foster Moreau, Jordan Mason, and Bucks D. So because I guess the stacks could be a little bit less so with Moreau, with Shaheed, without Olave, they're willing to get with more chalkier defense here with Bucks D going on here. Duping your not. Oh, all right. Well, I mean, it's not me. The solver's duping them. Top ROI lineups up here. Good job by you if you're building lineups that look like that. Chargers defense. Chargers are fine. Not really one I'd prioritize, I guess. Yeah, I mean, really not an issue with it. That game should just be ugly, though. I don't really have a lean about playing it too much. You're probably going to see the Steelers have the ball a lot more if Herbert can't go, even if Herbert can go. So not really a spot where I'm targeting either defense, but they're certainly playable. Defense has been good so far in the year. Carr again here. Carr, Kamara, Charbonnet, Tank Dell, Olave, Shaheed, Jake Ferguson, Jordan Mason, Colts. Really doesn't feel like anything too sneaky here. You are fading again, Brandon Ayuk. You're putting in Ferguson instead. I feel like if I'm going to fade Ayuk, I would probably put in Jennings, probably put in Saubert instead. But Mason, I guess, could just soak up the production. That's your way to get unique. Maybe not playing that second Niners pass catcher is enough of a way to get unique, I guess. This one I like a little bit more. So no Keenan Allen today. You get the concentration on DJ Moore if that pass game does work. But Carr, Kamara, Mason, DJ Moore, Olave, Shaheed, Juwan Johnson, Ayuk, Dolphins. So you're getting a lot of Carr stacks up top. Carr, I really do think I like Carr a lot. Played him a lot in battle royales. I think that Carr is going to be a play that gets a little bit overowned in DraftKings tournaments. If I had to guess, and I was kind of hinting at it, we were looking through the QB ownership, that somebody's going to pop up. I think Carr might be 10 to 15% owned today. You can't get this much of him in these sims. We'll see what Stochastic gives us. There's a lot of Carr. Stochastic, I think, is going to force us some more Geno. This is a lot of Carr. We're going to go QB by QB later. I'm not into Minshew, though. Minshew's got a high pass rate, but he's not really. It's more of a Zamir White game, if anything. What else to highlight here? The other interesting QBs. We've talked Stroud already. We got a Kyler team here. Kyler with McBride, Mason, Ayuk. Tank Dell. ETR is going to force you to do a lot of Tank Dell. I don't think Tank Dell is like a for sure play like this. But you're getting Tank Dell in basically every lineup up top here. So ETR Sims, the one takeaway here, they love Derek Carr. They love Saint stacks. And they do love Tank Dell. Getting a lot of Tank up top. And you are not getting much double tight end at all. And really, you shouldn't be playing double tight end much anyway. Double tight end in tournaments, usually not the move. All right. Here's a Lamar team. We'll go QB by QB with the Stochastic Sims, but I'm trying to see if there's any unique ETR ones here. Lamar double with Zay and Bateman. So you're not playing the Andrews chalk with Lamar. Olave, James Conner, Kamara, Mason. It's okay. Getting a little bit less zone at RB with Connor. Connor's got big upside. A lot of red zone work, as I talked about enough times. Nothing terribly exciting here. I don't love all the Tank Dell. I feel like just Tank Dell is one of those, we loved him in best ball. He projects well. The routes are still there plays, and it's just like they keep chasing him, and it's just a lot of Nico. It's just a lot of Nico. All right, let's go to the Stochastic Sims next. Again, check out the solver. Link in the description for that one. Stochastic, link in the description as well for 15% off of that. And let's build our pool here of 10,000 lineups. And these 10,000 lineups are going to compete against each other 10,000 times here with Stochastic Sims. So that's the process on here. A little bit different from ETRs where they build the field of lineups that you compete against on there. Stochastic generates them automatically each time that you do a different sim. We'll still end up pretty close because they're all based off the same ownership pool. Saquon over Kamara. Don't agree. Good red zone work, but it's not. I don't expect the same success. Saints D has been good so far. Eagles D has been objectively not good. It's really the biggest difference there. The workloads are similar, though. Like, I'll give you that. 26.5 intended touches a game compared to 21.5 for Kamara, though keep in mind Kamara's been, in kind of blowout games. 8 red zone targets or intended touches rather for Saquon, 3 inside the 10-yard line a game compared to 5 and 3 for Kamara. They're not dissimilar plays. The Kamara run bad would be if like Jamal Williams is also getting 2.5 red zone touches a game. If he somehow scored, that would be how Kamara runs bad. But I don't believe it personally. You guys can play all the Saquon you please. Not for me. All right, I think it's about 33% that goes to first place today in the Millie Maker, so let's try to do it that way. Let's run this contest sim on Stochastic. And again, we're going to go in order here. We'll look at the overall stuff, but we'll also go through a game by game, looking at each QB stack. So that is going to be the process here to talk about every game down the home stretch. About a half hour left, guys, in the stream. So please do subscribe down below, hit the like button, leave a comment. Again, I'm the only person in the industry, which surprises me, but it makes sense because obviously everybody's promoting their own products. I use products like you guys use products here. I show you what it's really like. I'm not showing you just, hey, here's Stochastic product, and that's all you're seeing on stream. Here's the Solver. Here's SaberSim. That's the only product you see on the stream. I try to do it different than everybody else. I do think it adds some value. I hear from you guys enough that it does. So show some love, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. All of that goes a long way here. For me, a solo proprietor, just trying to make a YouTube channel work. Working hard on a Sunday. I'm congested. Feel like a cold coming on. Hung out with the kid all day yesterday while the wife is out partying. I'm beat, guys. But God damn it, I got lineups to build. I got takes to go. I got final takes to give out. How could I not? Sweating. Doesn't matter. It's my sacrifice. Me and Creed. Creed Bratton, that is. CreedThoughts.gov. All right, let's see what these sims give us here. I've now stalled enough for the sim to finish its work. Or maybe not. Come on, sim. Let's throw the football in the air. It's almost done. All right, we got it. We got Dak Prescott as our top ROI lineup. Let me make this bigger for you. Oh, Saubert coming through on here too. Okay. We got Dak, Kamara, Akers, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Deontay Johnson, Eric Saubert, Jordan Mason, Dolphins D. I don't hate that one. Not crazy about Dak this week. But the goal to me of the week is just cram in chalk and a low-owned stack around that. Someone finds a way to get the ownership product down a little bit. So by leaving out Ayuk here, go into a Dak stack, tacking on Deontay Johnson and Dolphins D. It's enough to get unique on the week. To me, I think it's really, I feel it pretty strongly about this one. My real final take is, I think just play Kamara, Mason Akers, don't get cute, figure out receiver, but just play the 3 RBs that they're giving you that are like gifts from God who have good red zone rolls. That's how I feel about that today. Darnold, Kamara, Swift. I think Swift is a logical play theoretically, but the slate is just so clean for the other top RBs. But Justin Jefferson, Shaheed, Tank Dell, Johnny Munt, fucking Johnny Munt up top on both sites. Jordan Mason, Bucks D. So you're seeing again, up top on ETR, we saw a Darnold stack. Up top on Stochastic, another Darnold stack with Munt. Maybe playing Darnold with Munt is not the worst move because both sites are giving you them as 2 top ROI options right away. Dak Prescott, Zamir White, Charbonnet, CeeDee Lamb, Ayuk, Tolbert, Ferguson, Jordan Mason, Vikings. If you're going to talk me into somebody who's not Kamara, not Cam Akers, not Jordan Mason, and I'll still say not Zach Charbonnet, I think it would be Zamir White. Zamir White, the workload getting bigger for him last week. His snap count. Zamir White went from 23 snaps to 40 last week, while Madison went from 36 to 14. And then in the same week, Antonio Pierce said again that they want to get Zamir White 20 touches a game. There's no better time to do that than against Carolina. So you want to make a cheap pivot. I think it's Zamir White. Still think the role is better for Akers. Still think the role is better for Kamara. Maybe a little more fluidity in terms of the game flow for Kamara, I guess. Mason, we know what the role is there. It's going to be a good one unless the Niners get completely blown out. But even then, Mason might get some more pass game work out of the backfield because of not having Debo there. Hard to argue for Zamir White having a better role than those guys. But in terms of a situation where they should relatively have put a beat down on the Panthers, if nothing else, should score touchdowns against a really bad Panthers D and maybe score more because of the fact that the offense should be a little bit better with Andy Dalton. I think Zamir White's a credible play. But a better redraft play than he is a DFS play because there's really good DFS plays. I don't think Saubert's going to get steamed. People don't know who he is enough. And 2 tight ends not viable in the slate. I would agree with that. Yeah, no. If you're going to go to tight end, you pay down a tight end and spend no money. And the move is really going to be that you just hope that Saubert gets you 10 and nobody else gets more than 15. And I think that might work. So that's, yeah, don't play Saubert with another tight end. In cash, maybe, I guess you could. Derek Carr here is the number 4 overall ROI lineup. Carr, Kamara, Akers, CeeDee Lamb, Olave, Shaheed, Saubert, Mason, Dolphins. It feels like when you get Carr in the Sims, you're getting him overstacked, which might reflect the fact that, like, Carr is not actually a good play unless you're putting in QB +3. I think you could get away with Carr with Kamara and Olave, but that might be a little more overowned than it seems. So it's something to keep in mind. I'm observing with the Sims here. I'm not getting a lot of Carr with Kamara and Olave. And I feel like if you're playing Olave and Shaheed, you kind of want to not play Kamara, but all 3 can hit. Dak Prescott coming in again. So a lot of Dak up top. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 7 lineups are Dak lineups. Kind of crazy to see. But Dak again with Devon Achane, Cam Akers, CeeDee Lamb, Deontay Johnson, Juwan Jennings, Jake Ferguson, Jordan Mason, and Bucks. See the top 150 give us highest ROI right now. Eric Saubert. Okay, I got to tell you guys, I did not cheat. I did not look at the data in advance for this stuff. Saubert was just one where I saw it in the data and was like, he's really getting targeted well. The projection, it was like a 6-point projection from Stochastic. It's not good, but I think Saubert, man, I got to be careful in not playing too much of him. But at 2,500, if he gives you like a Kittle adjacent game, he is going to break the slate. Definitely more of a cash game play for sure. But Saubert, I like a lot, man. Top ROI is surprising to see. Juwan Jennings, number 2, just getting leverage on Ayuk gets the top moves here ROI-wise. Dolphins D, no surprise to see them here. Going to get a little more leverage in a game where Seattle's going to be pretty chalky. Bucks D, so they're saying that's pretty good chalk overall. Good ROI on that. Johnny Munt, I don't get the Munt thing. Munt keeps popping up in Sims every week, and his numbers have been mostly dog shit. Yeah, Munt running 18.5 routes per game, 3 targets a game, 16% target per out run, no deep targets, no red zone targets. Yeah, Josh Oliver's playing more snaps, running less routes. I don't see it for Johnny Munt, but he does keep coming up in the Sims. Levitanus, Town, Saubert. All right, well, there you go. Parkinson coming up. Charbonnet coming up as a high ROI guy. Who else is a positive ROI? Darnold, positive ROI. Akers, positive ROI. Kamara, Mason, Olave. Odunze, again, no Keenan Allen. Thielen, new QB. Ayuk, Zamir White, JSN. After that, it all goes to negative ROIs. Top stack ROIs. QB +1 is Darnold. He's actually got the only positive ROI to QB +1. And QB +2, Darnold leads the way again. Gino a little bit further behind that. Caleb behind that. QB +3. Carr is going nuts at QB's +3. Holy shit. 44% stack ROI for Carr and QB +3. 31% for Purdy and a QB +3. Again, adding Purdy onto a stack, making the stack bigger. Sims always love that. Darnold, 28%. Saubert has 38 career reception. This is his 8th year in the league. Agree that he's tempting, though. Yeah, look, I'm not saying he's like a young breakout guy, but it is like the per route stuff looks good for him. The one thing I'll say is like the per route stuff for him looks good, and nobody was like a smash tight end play on the slate. So if you're not paying up for one of the really good guys, if you're not getting McBride, you're not getting Laporta, like whatever, just fucking take the $2,500 guy who's probably going to get, I mean, Kittle's going to vacate snap-wise. Kittle's vacating 51 snaps last week, 66 snaps in week 1. Probably a timeshare a little bit with him and Tongas, but he's playing, 25 more snaps than Tongas right now. It's just a crush of workload, I think, for Saubert more than anything. But anyway, there's your stack ROIs. Overall exposures you would get. You're getting 90% Jordan Mason compared to the field owning him 50%. So Sims saying Mason a good play. Kamara getting 64% compared to 36% for the field. So Sims saying Kamara a good play. You're getting 54% Charbonnet compared to 27% for the field. Sims saying Charbonnet a good play. Ayuk 51% compared to 32% for the field. So same thing. Akers, you're getting 38% compared to 17%. Same thing for Akers. Olave 28% compared to 19%. So Sims love a lot of these guys here. I feel like the one I'm the most dubious of is Charbonnet, but Charbonnet's workload's good. I think it's just the talent level. I think he's a little bit less good than Mason. I mean, he's a lot less good than Mason and Kamara. And I think in my mind, equal to Akers, but a little bit less good role. But Charbonnet coming up a lot. All right, let's go QB by QB here. Let's go in order of the slate. This will be the final act we do on these last 20 minutes. Show you the top ROI lineups for every QB. And let's start it off with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith, Ayuk, Tank Dell. So they love everybody loves Tank Dell. I am not on board with Tank like the Sims are. Man, I really think Nico's distancing himself in that wide receiver core, but the Sims do not agree. Tank, Saubert, Mason, Dolphins D. So nothing surprising based on the Sims we've seen so far. Hurts, Kamara, Charbonnet, Devontae, Deontay Johnson, Juwan Jennings, Dallas Goedert, Jordan Mason, Broncos. So getting leverage on Ayuk with Jennings directly. Hurts, Kamara, Akers, Devontae, Brandon Ayuk, Thielen, Colby Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins D. So you're just getting a lot of Devontae Smith here. I feel like nothing that exciting. I feel like one where you're getting the QB +1 with a lot of opponents would appeal to me more. Here's a QB +1 with 3 opponents. So Hurts, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk, Shaheed, Moreau, Mason, Vikings. I don't know about the Moreau part. I kind of think this is Juwan Johnson week, to be honest. Won't play a ton of them. But like Juwan Johnson, pretty much an even split with him and Taysom Hill in the past. Juwan played 24 snaps last week. Moreau played 47. Man, I didn't realize Moreau was dusting Juwan Johnson that much in reps. Kind of crazy. Island of Foss Moreau to TD called back last week. Would have had a TD in his first 2 games. Yeah. I mean, Moreau's going to get more work. He doesn't earn targets at the same rate. I don't know. At a certain point, Juwan Johnson's probably to start getting more reps, too. I think they're slowly ramping him up after the foot injury because Juwan's reps went from... Now, you know what? It was 23 to 24. It wasn't that big of a change. Yeah, Moreau just might be ahead. If I had to guess, though, you're getting a lot of Moreau with Taysom on the field. So the hope would be you get Moreau with Juwan Johnson on the field. And if you get Moreau with Juwan Johnson on the field, he's going to take targets away more. I don't know. I don't think Juwan's dead. I would watch out. I would watch out with Moreau. Yeah. Taysom Hill Taysom Hill's out, basically. I mean, he's doubtful, but he's not going to play. So, yeah, I don't know. I would go Juwan Johnson over Moreau, personally. Anyway, those are your Eagles stacks with bringbacks. I'm not worried about the Taysom part. I'm worried about the Moreau versus Juwan Johnson part. Let's look at the Derek Carr stacks. We kind of got a read on these already, but we are going game by game, QB by QB here. Derek Carr stacks up top. Carr, Kamara, Akers, CeeDee Lamb, Olave, Shaheed, Saubert, Mason, Dolphins. Carr, Kamara, Achane, Olave, Jamo, Rashid Shaheed, Colby Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins. So QBs +3 up top. Sims are going to feed you a lot of Derek Carr stacked up. I think it works. I think if you're going to play it, though, I would play it with the bring back. Carr, Kamara, a fucking Swift sneaking in here. Carr, Kamara, Swift, Devontae, DJ Moore, Olave, Foster Moreau, Jordan Mason, Vikings. I'm still not in on the Foster Moreau part of that. Can we get one without Moreau? Here we go. Carr, Kamara, Akers, Devontae Smith, Olave, Shaheed, Ferguson, Mason, Dolphins. I like that one. $300 on the table for that. That makes sense. You watch out if you're playing Carr stacks for Moreau just sneaking his ass in there. I don't think that's the move. This one, Carr, Kamara, Akers, Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, Juwan Jennings, Juwan Johnson, Jordan Mason, and Raiders. I like that a lot. So Andy Dalton might drop back a lot. Andy Dalton, I watched the entire game he played last year versus Seattle. Really thought I would leave going, Andy Dalton, man, I'm excited to play this guy this week. He didn't look that good. He just dropped back 60 times in a game. So to me, for Dalton going with the defense against him, Raiders D has been pretty competent. Dalton's going to be better than Bryce Young, but he could definitely throw some pick sixes. Could definitely get sacked, turn the ball over. I think this works. This one's this one to me, I'm just going to highlight it. If you want to steal that one, I think out of all the lineups we've looked so far, that's what I would do. Can I do FanDuel? No, I don't play FanDuel. I'm showing you my gambling. I'm not showing you're gambling. But I appreciate you asking, but I really couldn't care less about FanDuel. Sorry. Use the sim product. Link in the description if you want to get it for yourself. Stroud. Yeah, Splash Play is just me showing you my gambling and my process. I'm not here, I'm not selling FanDuel. Stroud, Zamir White, Charbonnet, Nico, JSN, Tank Dell, Dalton Schultz, Jordan Mason, Bucks. So you're getting pretty different here at the Stroud stack. The receivers have flipped over entirely. RBs too, also pretty different. So I would say, reading this right away, I would guess that if you're putting Stroud stacks with Kamara, with I guess Mason still getting in, with Kamara in particular, though, I guess you're not going to be able to afford it, or it's too chalky. But it does seem like you're not getting as much Kamara up top in this one in particular. But you got Dalton Schultz, get Jordan Mason, get Bucks D here to round it out, and Tank Dell, of course. The Sims love Tank Dell. Stroud, Achane, Akers, Nico, Ayuk, Tank Dell, Colby Parkinson, Jordan Mason, Titans. Meh. Stroud, Kamara, Akers, Nico, Ayuk, Tank Dell, Johnny Munt. Fuck you, Johnny Munt. Jordan Mason, Dolphins D. I don't love these Stroud stacks that much. This one better, I think, with Juwan Jennings. Stroud, Kamara, Akers, Nico, Tank, Juwan Jennings, Brock Bowers, Jordan Mason, Broncos. I like that one a lot. That's my favorite out of this group that we just saw. All right. Darnold coming up next. I also like, just for the record, I mean, no disrespect to OK. I explicitly do not have FanDuel on the logos here. I have DraftKings, underdog, no FanDuel. Fuck FanDuel, man. FanDuel can go eat a dick. Darnold stack. No disrespect to you guys playing FanDuel, of course. They give free vouchers away. I'll put in the line for that. But gives a shit about FanDuel. Darnold, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Justin Jefferson, Shaheed, Tank Dell, Johnny Munt, Jordan Mason, Bucks D. Get out of here, Johnny Munt. All the top ROI lineups have Johnny Munt in them. If you play a Darnold stack, just don't fucking play Johnny Munt is what I would implore you to do. Even though the Sims say it, it's just like it's too easy a play for the Sim to pop in. Here's one without Johnny Munt and without Colby Parkinson, who frankly I don't like that much. But this one, at least, no Munt. Darnold, Kamara, Akers, Jefferson, Olave, Deontay, Colby Parkinson, Jordan Mason, Titans D. That works. Darnold, Kamara, Akers, Jefferson, Rashid Shaheed, Odunze, Brock Bowers, Charbonnet, Broncos. I think I like that one more. Oh, man, I am fucking hot as balls in here. All right. Daniel Jones stacks. I'll put the hat back on, but let it be said, this hat's keeping all my fucking heat in right now. To stop and by to say I'm playing Arizona defense this week. Detroit offense has been underwhelming thus far. I don't think they're going to get takeaways like that, but sure. Arizona. Home game, home dog. They're stuffing the run well. Pressure to 25% clip, not really deflecting passes. I don't know. I probably wouldn't play Arizona's D, but I get the logic. Daniel Jones, Kamara, Akers, CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors. If you're playing Daniel Jones at QB, you have to have Neighbors with him. Thielen, Colby Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins. You shouldn't play QB +0. It's an awful play to do that in tournaments. You should have at least QB +1. You are very rarely, if ever, going to win with QB +0. Which is not going to happen in 2024 that much. Watching Good the Sim is great. Gives us a good idea of what people are going to be building. Great for also getting ideas on how to get leverage on the field. I hope so. I mean, you can see if nothing else, the Sim's going to push people to. There's a lot of Tank Dell and a lot of Johnny Munt. Did I finish? Yeah, all right. Thielen, Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins. Finish reading that team. Jones, Achane, Charbonnet, Devontae, Neighbors, Ayuk, Parkinson, Mason, Vikings. I don't really like this matchup for the Giants. I kind of think that Daniel Jones immediately comes back down to earth after having a really clean matchup against the Commanders last week. But you can make the case that he's probably going to feed the shit out of Malik Neighbors again. And he can beat most matchups if he's going to get targets, 65% of the time, 38% target per out run on the year kind of stuff is what Neighbors has so far. So kind of interesting, but hard to play. So maybe that's what makes it a tournament play. I don't know if you want Jones as your QB, though, no matter what. It's a little bit tough. Hard to imagine Jones getting there. He'd have to run a lot, if I had to guess. Deshaun. Yeah, fuck FanDuel. Honestly, I have no real bias against FanDuel. It's just like I don't play on there. So I don't really have much of an opinion for it. It is the most similar to underdog, I guess. Maybe I should care more about it. Deshaun, Kamara, Jerome Ford. I would not play Ford with Foreman taking that workload last week. Olave, Ayuk, Elijah Moore, Trey McBride, Mason Dolphins. If you're going to play Watson, I wouldn't play an Elijah Moore, Jerome Ford stack with it, but I guess, I don't know. If you're going to play anything, play the air yards finally working out for Amari Cooper. That'd be what I would do. Judy, too, is getting a lot of volume, a lot of air yards. I think that's more the move. But this one with Deshaun Watson, Kamara, Charbonnet, DJ Moore, Ayuk, Amari Cooper, Jordan Akins, Jordan Mason, Titans D. Talked about it last week. I thought Akins was a shit play. Kind of was a shit play. Still is not a better play this week, but you do get another week of Njoku out. This one's more interesting, I guess, but you're getting Swift again. I don't know that I want Swift, but Watson, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Chris Olave, Amari Cooper, Romo Dunze, Laporta, Mason Dolphins. So you're playing that Laporta finally has a breakout game, the only guy in Detroit to not have one yet. JSN or what? No, not answering it. It wasn't phrased well, and it's not a super chat. But Charbonnet is one of the top plays of the week, so he should probably be your play in most situations. Watson, Kamara, Charbonnet, Neighbors, Olave, Moore. No Elijah Moore. Stop giving me Elijah Moore. Give me a good one with Amari Cooper. And without Jerome Ford. Give me a good one with Amari Cooper and without Jerome Ford is what I'm looking for here. This one I could live with. Doesn't have Amari, but Judy's getting a lot of air yards as well. Watson, Kamara, Akers, Devontae Smith, Ayuk, Jerry, Judy, Mark Andrews, Jordan Mason, Bucks D. I don't want to play Deshaun this week very much, to be honest. I think he projects a little bit too well for a guy who's not actually good. But viable plays. Sims loved Caleb on Friday. Let's see what they like now. Less is more. Yeah, I think more is less. Elijah Moore. Yeah, no thank you to him. No thank you to him no matter what. Caleb, Kamara, Charbonnet, DJ Moore, Ayuk, Odunze, Mark Andrews, Mason Titans. I like this one a lot. I think this one's really good. So Caleb, I have a hard time buying in on just because of the fact he's going to be played a little bit more than he should be for a guy who's really looked not ready for prime time so far. But I would say for Caleb, you're getting a unique stack here, a unique double. You're then taking on the chalk with that. That's kind of the way to play this. And you are getting, again, a concentrated offense here for as much as it's going to be concentrated, no Keenan Allen. So more on Dunze, more in a matchup where the pass game D is going to be really bad against them. I think this works. Sure, you don't want to massage Deshaun in my lineups. No. I think those words should never be put together again. In American history, if we could avoid it. Caleb, Kamara, Achane, Nico, Moore, Odunze, Akins, Mason, Dolphins. Switch Jordan Akins to Saubert, and I think we're talking here. I like this build. Caleb builds feel kind of fun. I don't know that I'd play the DeAndre Carter one. It's coming up in third here. But Caleb builds feel pretty nice. AR builds, let's look at that next. Gotta blow my nose too because I'm fucking dying here. Peak form. Peak week 3 form here. All right, so AR, Achane, Charbonnet, Olave, Ayuk, Pittman, Saubert, Jordan Mason, Bucks. AR stack with Pittman not doing a lot for me. AR, Akers, Charbonnet, Olave, Ayuk, Downs, McBride, Mason, Bucks. This lineup's kind of sick. This is a good one. If you're going to steal one, I think it's not a bad one to steal. Getting Downs coming in off the injury. He's going to hurt Pittman. He's going to hurt Pierce. He's going to hurt A.D. Mitchell. Going to be split routes between those 3 guys, Mitchell, Pierce, and Downs. But I think that works. Neighbors or Godwin in a single entry? Probably Godwin. Godwin's been the best receiver in football through 2 weeks. So he's going to be chalkier, though. So if your team's pretty chalky, you might want to watch out for that. AR stacks, not a lot to love. Bo Nix stacks, yikes. Positive ROI on this one, QB +1 with 1. Nix, Kamara, Charbonnet, Nico, Mike Evans, Thielen, Dulcich, Jordan Mason, and Titans. Here's one. People want one without the stack partners. Bo Nix with Kamara, Zamir White, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Deontay, Noah Fant. That's a weird one. Jordan Mason and Lions. If you were to go with Bo Nix, I would personally try to pair him with Courtland Sutton. Nix, Kamara, Jacobs. Jefferson, Sutton. Well, all right. Jennings, Dulcich, Mason, Packers. The Jacobs part of it, I don't agree with. Good workload. Yeah, Bo Nix. Bo Nix stacks would definitely be another way to get unique if you play the chalk. It's really, I think most of these QBs, like the Daniel Jones, Bo Nix tier, and Caleb, I would put into that tier as well. They're just really ways to get stack partners and decrease the ownership of like a Mason, Kamara, Ayuk, like chalk fest kind of thing. And that's where they work the best. Baker with Zamir White, Charbonnet, Evans and Godwin, Olave, Parkinson, Mason, Vikings. I feel like you kind of need a lever on the Broncos side. Maybe you don't, because Bo Nix can run enough. They could get one pass game that play that works and maybe creates a touchdown, but doesn't actually add somebody to the lineup. You probably don't need a Broncos bring back if you're playing a Baker stack, but I wouldn't play the Bucks D with it. But yeah, Baker double here. Baker, Zamir White, Charbonnet, Evans, Godwin, Olave, Parkinson, Mason, Vikings. Baker with Kamara, Akers, Evans, Godwin, Ayuk, Saubert, Mason. I like this one a lot. This is a really strong one. You're just saying that Denver's keeping that competitive, that Tampa Bay keeps crushing like they have been. That works. QB +3 I wouldn't do with Tampa Bay. But Evans or Godwin, I think would also work for me. Yeah, I like these builds. Baker stack's not bad today, I don't think. Probably an ugly game, but I think they can work. Malik Willis, you shouldn't probably be playing this, but Willis, Kamara, Zamir White. So Willis unstacked here. I guess Willis, one QB that maybe you could play unstacked for the previous question. Malik Willis, Kamara, Zamir White, Nico, Olave, Ayuk, Hurst, Mason, Bucks. You're getting every player you want in this one. The downside is you have to take Malik Willis with it. Malik Willis averaging 6 completions a game, but obviously that includes the partial game in week 1. So we're talking about like 12 completions a game, running about 6 times a game. He'd have to run in a touchdown for you. It's possible. Doesn't feel good. Stacking Hurts, you think you have to force a double stack? No, I would just go Hurts. I would honestly just go Hurts and Devontae. I think more people will force doubles than they should. The way to get unique would probably be to go Hurts, Devontae, and Saquon, but I think really it's Devontae or bust there. Dotson ran a lot of routes last game, played a lot of snaps, but he wasn't very good. Covey doesn't have enough upside for a tournament. I don't think it's really anything besides Devontae there. Goddard you could take, but I think people are going to get forced to Goddard more because of the same logic you're talking about. Will Levis stacks. We got Will Levis, Kamara, Charbonnet, Ayuk, Calvin Ridley, JMO, Ferguson, Jameis Williams, Vikings. This one's kind of interesting. It's not all guys that we like this week, but I think this spot's okay with him. Ridley's been getting a lot of air yards, a lot of production. Don't expect Will Levis to have tournament winning upside personally, but if he allows you to get everything else in, I think that works. I would really like it the most where it's like all chalk with Levis and Ridley. This one kind of works with that. Levis, Kamara, Charbonnet, Devontae, Ridley, Tank, Jake Ferguson, Mason, Broncos. AR at 4% on any slate feels like a great play, sure. I would not, single Hurts, single stack Hurts, not solo Hurts though, not naked Hurts. Dotson isn't very good in general. He's in bad situations. I don't know. I feel bad for Dotson. I think that he didn't get enough time in the preseason with this offense to learn enough things to actually be A.J. Brown's backup. He's out there on the field, but there's no trust there. Like Hurts doesn't even look his way when he's on the field, which is kind of tough. But maybe he will at some point. Justin Herbert, we don't even know if he's going to play, and all his stacks are negative ROI, so let's just skip that for the sake of time. Justin Fields, stacks will probably look a little better. Fields, Kamara, Charbonnet, Devontae, Ayuk, Pickens, Munt, and Mason, Bucks. Again, swap Munt to Saubert, and I think we're talking here. This team works for me. I don't love Field stacks in general. I don't love Pittsburgh's offense. I think this matchup's going to be a dog shit one. Chargers D looks good. Chargers D shutting down QB runs pretty well as well. Negative 0.6 EPA per QB rush is one of the best marks in the league. Negative 0.3 EPA per rush, negative 0.4 EPA per pass, negative 0.37 EPA per drop back is what the Chargers D is giving up. So Field stacks, to me, not a clean matchup, but this is what we're talking about here. Low-owned stack to get you all the chalk. I think Fields fits that criteria. People love Skylar. Let's see what Skylar Thompson gives us. Skylar Thompson with Achane, Swift, Devontae Smith, Ayuk, Waddle, Colby, Mason, Texans. I feel like the point of going to Skylar would be to get like Achane and Kamara together. We're not getting that. Skylar with Kamara, Rashad White. Anything with Rashad White, I just wouldn't do. Skylar double, though, is kind of interesting. A Skylar double with better RBs would appeal to me more. Skylar with Tyreek, Waddle, Odunze, Parkinson, Charbonnet, Bucks. Don't love Skylar anymore. The man, the legend, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, dude. Just doing the work here as best we can. Skylar, Pollard, Rashad White. Nope. You give me Rashad White, I tell you no. Don't care. There's still enough work going to Bucky Irving that Rashad White, to me, I don't think is like a flop flag play. I don't think it's anything. DeAndre Carter. All right, so this one, you're getting all the studs in here. This is interesting. This is actually really interesting, I think. Skylar, Kamara, a chance. You're getting huge upside here. You're game stacking Miami, Seattle. You got Ayuk. You're fading Tyreek and going to Waddle. That's probably the toughest part. Waddle's going to be the one who suffers the most in this offense. I feel like if you had Tyreek here with Carter, I could live with that. You're getting Brock Bowers, Jordan Mason, and Packers D. You could find a way to save money in this one and get to Tyreek. I would like that a lot more. But I think that kind of build, that's going to be the ideal way to me to attack a Skylar Thompson build. This one a little better. Skylar, Kamara, Pollard, Tyreek, Ayuk, JSN, Jatavian Sanders, who should see a little bit of a bump with Dalton, though. Tommy Tremble's back in, so that's not great for him. Jordan Mason, Broncos, D. Again, this was Saubert, I think works. Yeah, shocking. I'm fading Rashad White in his 2.4 yards per carry. I mean, look, it's been awful for him, but it's honestly been even worse than I thought it would be for him. But I was never a big Rashad White guy, as we know, which is why Bucky Irving's one of my highest exposed players. And frankly, he's not paying off either. So he's killing the bullet. Rashad White hurting himself and hurting everybody else in that RB room right now. Geno Smith, Kamara, Charbonnet, Nico, Chris Olave, JSN, Saubert, Mason, Bucks. Print it. That's a good team. You're getting a lower owned single stack, well, I guess technically a double stack with Charbonnet. You're increasing the bet a little bit. You're getting my favorite cheap tight end in here to save some money. You're getting Nico Collins, who I love, Olave, who I love, Kamara, who I love, Mason, who I love. The only thing you're not doing is taking Akers, which is fine in this kind of build. So that works for me. This one with Geno, Kamara, Akers, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Mason, Bucks. You're getting a real low-owned Seattle double here. That's super interesting, too. These Geno builds, I think, a lot more fun than the ones we saw in ETR. I would play some of these Geno builds. I like these builds a lot. Andy Dalton, people wanted to see Andy Dalton. Stochastic has a really dog shit projection on him, 13.4 points, so he's not going to come up a ton. But Dalton, Kamara, Pollard, Neighbors, Ayuk, Deontay, Brock Bowers, Jordan Mason, Dolphins. Getting a little bit too cute with the chalk here. Like, you should just go Charbonnet or Akers. Neighbors could be a more binary play, but this works. Dalton, Kamara, Achane, Devontae, Olave, Thielen, Jatavian, Mason, Browns. Browns not coming up a lot, but Browns are probably going to slaughter Daniel Jones. You're getting leverage against the Neighbors ownership, whatever that's going to be. This build's kind of interesting. It's the thing that's tough is, like, I just don't know that Dalton scores you enough points, but they do kind of unlock everything. I'll give you that. Dalton, Kamara, Charbonnet, Olave, DK Metcalf, Deontay Johnson, Bowers, Mason, Saints. I like that one. These builds, you are jamming in every star player in these builds. That is the best thing you could say about these Andy Dalton builds. I got to say, looking at these, I'll probably take a few shots on Dalton today. Really shit projection, really low team total as well, 17.3 implied points, but it does work. Gardner Minshew, Kamara, Charbonnet, Devontae, Shaheed, Deontay Johnson, Brock Bowers, Mason, Vikings. I feel like this is one where you could tack on Ayuk and get it a little more chalky. Like this. Minshew, Kamara, Akers, Olave, Ayuk, JSN, Bowers, Mason, Bucks. That's a sick build. Minshew doesn't have the upside to win a tournament, really. But if everybody else goes nuts, that can work. Yeah, Minshew could work today. This game, Minshew and Dalton, I'm going to take a little bit more than I thought I would from that. That much, I'm surprised to say, but I can admit it's going to be true. Lamar, Kamara, Zamir White, Flowers, Olave, Jennings, Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins. Look, if you're going to commit to a Lamar build, I think you got to spend more money and just go CeeDee Lamb on the bring back and just really try to game stack the best parts of that game. Let me see if I can get one with him and CeeDee Lamb and line up. We'll try to speed this up, guys. I know I'm running a little bit long here. Try to get out of the way of the 10 o'clock shows for the most part. All right, Lamar, Kamara, Mason, CeeDee Lamb, Olave, Bateman, Andrews, Saubert, Vikings. You're getting double tight end here. That's a little bit tough. Lamar, Charbonnet, Rashad. Can we get one with Akers? Can we save money with Akers maybe? Lamar, Mason, Akers, Odunze, Zay Flowers, Neighbors, Tommy Tremble, Lamb, Cardinals. These Lamb-Lamar lineups are tough, but if you could find a good Lamar-Lamb one, I think it's interesting. Jennings a better play than Whittington. Tougher matchup for Whittington. I think they're kind of similar. I wouldn't really prioritize either, to be honest. Dak stacks. We saw these up top. High ROI Dak stacks. Dak stacks, I think the Sims like a lot. If you're playing the Sims, you're probably going to get a good amount of them. But Dak, Kamara, Akers, Lamb, Olave, Deontay Johnson, Saubert, Mason, Dolphins. Love that build. Would like it more with, I think, a Raiders, not a Raiders bring back, a Ravens bring back. But this works. Jalen Tolbert's been pretty good. Dak Prescott, Zamir White, Charbonnet, CD, Ayuk, Tolbert, Ferguson, Mason, Vikings. Dallas triple feels a little bit aggressive. That could work. QB +2, Dak, Achane, Akers, Lamb, Deontay, Juwan Jennings, Ferguson, Mason, Bucks. That all works. I think the biggest surprise to me so far is how clean the Dalton Minshew stacks are. And I'd say the second biggest surprise is how much the Sims seem to love these Dak builds overall. Jared Goff stacks could be low owned, I think, enough. It's pretty aggressive to spend that much money on those two guys. I think you're going to do better with a little more balance than that, to be honest. Goff, Kamara, Zamir White, Amon-Ra, J-Mo, Odunze, Parkinson, Mason, Vikings. Okay. Parkinson and Munt, by the way, seem like the sim tight ends that come up a lot. Akins to a lesser extent. Goff, Zamir White, Ford. I just can't play Jerome Ford this week. Amon-Ra, Olave, J-Mo, Munt, Mason, Vikings. Goff, Kamara, Akers, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, J-Mo, Akins, Zamir White. All right, here's where we get a lot of the good chalk here. Goff, Kamara, Akers, Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Odunze, Parkinson, Mason, Dolphins. This is my favorite one out of this group. Kyler lineups. We're almost at the last few games, right? Niners, Rams still. Okay. All right, so we got one more game after this one, and I can free you guys to watch other content. Kyler with Kamara, Charbonnet, Neighbors, Juwan Jennings, Moore, McBride, Mason, Bucks. Meh. Kyler, Zamir White, Charbonnet, Ayuk, Deontay Jennings, McBride, Kyron, Bucks. Interesting. Don't love it, though. Kyler with Kamara, Akers, Metcalf, Deontay Jennings, McBride, Mason, Colts. That's interesting. I like that one a little bit more. Colts bouncing back. All right. Kyler stacks might be okay. All right, Brock Purdy one should be one of the more interesting ones to see here. These will be our last two teams we're looking at, guys, and I will free you to watch the rest of your content. We got Brock Purdy, though. Technically, you are a free man or woman watching this. You can go leave whenever you want. But I feel like I have to say that because I know I'm holding you guys up. Purdy, Akers, Charbonnet, CD, Chris Godwin, Ayuk, Saubert, Mason, Bucks. That is a sick fucking build. This is a team. No Kamara is the one tough part. That's really sick, though. I like that a lot. Just taking the Ayuk chalk, taking the Mason chalk, adding Saubert on top. And then the way that like Purdy gets there is Saubert making a lineup. So like it makes good game theory sense too, I think. Purdy, Kamara, Akers, Nico, Ayuk, Jennings, Bowers, Mason, Dolphins. This one's also great if you don't want to go with Saubert. You're making a little bit less owned by making it a double with Purdy and then keeping the RB and Mason. So it's technically QB +3. That's a good build. These Purdy builds are really fucking nice, guys. I think the ones that have like impressed me the most out of the builds we've seen, Dalton teams look good. Minshew teams look good. Purdy teams look good. Purdy is not a surprise to me, I guess, but I didn't think it was going to be this clean. These are really clean teams. So just make sure your ownership's not going to get you crazy, but I think you built some really clean Brock Purdy teams for sure. And Stafford, our last QB to look at for the main slate. I do think that there is, to me, some game theory sense to Stafford doubles, Stafford triples, where you're just taking the savings at his receivers and hoping that the Rams could score points somehow. You have to keep in mind, though, it is a 18.5 point total for the Rams, so the expectation is an ass whooping coming at the Niners' hands. But Stafford, no, Chuba, we're not playing Chuba. On this slate, I don't think you play a Chuba. Give me like the good chalk. What I want is a Stafford lineup with all the good RB chalk. This one's close. Stafford, Kamara, Akers, Moore, Robinson, Jennings, McBride, Achane. Stafford, Kamara, Charbonnet, Olave, Ayuk, DeMarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson, Mason. That's a good one. That's a good one. So what you're doing here is, again, you're sucking up all the chalk. Mason chalk, Kamara chalk, Charbonnet chalk, Olave chalk, Ayuk chalk, and just adding on 2 guys. We're not going to get double stacked a lot with it. That, to me, is the build today. I think today is a good chalk day. It's up to you to find a way to get unique with it. So that's it, guys. We've ran through every QB. We've looked through everything. I'm not going to do the single lineup build today because you get the idea at this point. But, guys, if you appreciated this video, number one, go check out Stochastic. Please, 15% off at Stochastic. It's a great way to support the show and get yourself the only promo code they have going right now. Promo code SPLASH gets you 15% off at Stochastic, so check that out. Of course, the solver, no discount on there, but another great product, especially if you want to hand build, customize yourself a little bit more. Solver, link in the description as well. That supports the show too. And of course, you get a product there. Optimizer, Sims combined together. Do that. Underdog, free pick'em stuff going on there. $1,000 deposit match, or a bonus cash rather. You sign up and use the promo code SPLASH and Underdog, so check that out. Again, all these things here support the show and support you. So that's the hope here, and it is appreciated if you use any of our affiliate links because, again, I'm trying to put on a show here, and it helps me to get revenue in to be able to do that. So check that stuff out. Thank you all the fine folks who support the channel. You too can support content like this. It's like on PBS here by joining down below for $4.99. If you do that, you get access to a VIP Discord. You get a premium video every week from me where I go game by game, talking about defensive matchups, the advanced analytics that I swear by, all that stuff. And of course, you get my data sheet, which has all the data from Sports Info Solutions, Pro Football Reference, fantasy points. It all comes together into one place and shows you how I view games. So it's what you get if you join the channel here. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. So again, gamble responsibly no matter what you're doing today. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And no matter what you're playing today, I guess unless it's Johnny Munt, I wish you the best of luck. And I'll see you guys again tomorrow with the Showdown video. Same process here. Showdown focus. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'll see you guys then. Enjoy your days. And of course, good luck. Bye-bye.